kiss I didn't get last night.
Greetings, beautiful people. I have with me today video director, director and screenwriter and cameraman as well, and he does a lot of other things too, but me primarily video director, Phillip Lindsey, who directed my most recent music video for my new release, The Kiss I Didn't Get Last Night.
Yeah,
Glad to have you, Phillip. Hi.
Thanks for having me. It was a fun project to work on, and it's always inspiring to collaborate with talented people such as yourself. So, yeah.
The feeling is mutual. So I wanted to talk a little bit about the process of making the video, starting with what you felt when you heard the song and what, how that led you to the images that eventually we wound up capturing.
Yeah, you had sent me the song and I immediately liked it. I loved its kind of retro vibe. So I wanted to find images that would kind of represent that, hence the 1980s neon colors that we utilized in the making of it.
Right.
So I felt like visuals that were in that era would match the sense that were in the song. I thought personally when I listened to it, you didn't tell me anything about the song. I thought it was kind of about longing and almost like a fantasy of something that you wish that had happened. And so I think that the fantasy aspect was really important when I initially thought about it. And then I kind of discussed it with you. And so it just kind of snowballed from there. Also the bright colors and the kind of suspended feelings throughout the video also gives you a sense of that dreamlike fantasy feel to it. So
you captured that with the lighting. I mean, it's definitely a nighttime feeling song. I think there's maybe one shot that has any daylight in it at all, and that's a sunset. That was sunset.
Yeah, and just for a brief moment. That's the beauty about music videos, is you can kind of really smash down any kind of barriers and break all the rules and do fun things that just jump off the page. So we could have went a different route and made it more realistic, but I feel like, to me, it felt like more of a fantasy in the dreamlike state.
Yeah.
So in doing so, we were able to use a lot of colors that you just don't see in, everyday life. I mean, you're not seeing bright pinks and blues and fog and
right.
all that stuff when you walk down the street. And if you do, it's just in your head, right?
Absolutely. My foggy head.
Of course, where I live, it's one of the few places in Los Angeles that still has a lot of those neon lights still on display. Most people have torn them down or got rid of them.
Well, I feel like the neon really worked well. We used most of it, didn't we, in the shot, the blonde shot, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah. And people
that was actually on location. The majority of it was a lot of it was filmed in studio, probably 60% of it.
For sure. We managed to get that Mustang convertible into the studio.
Yes. Right in there.
Right in there.
But the majority of it was, filmed in studio, but there was a few locations in the blonde and in the chocolate shop line. Which is you.
Right.
Playing, I guess, your fantasy, which was a cool idea as well. I think that was all your idea there.
Right. Well, I guess that's an alter ego, maybe, And those shots we wound up, those are only very brief, I think, shots. Well, first of all, the reference to blonde is very brief in the song. It's like this split second connection, like throughout the song. And I feel like you captured this with the way you shot the video also. Partly the flow of it really matches the beat, and it also reflects the dreamlike feeling, but also the elusiveness of this connection that the person in the song is seeking and not finding. And only found very briefly, like there's this brief spark of a connection that happens in the bridge of the song with the blonde, and then the blonde is gone. That's it. She's gone. Yeah. She's walking away. So that shot has to be really brief because the connection is so brief. There's just like a glimpse, Yeah. And the rest of it is the searching and the dreaming.
Yeah, and in post we put some glows and things on it so that it even heightened that dreamlike kind of fantasy state.
The other shot that I thought was really great was the shot with where I'm wearing the sunglasses and there's a reflection of light in the sunglasses.
Yeah, and usually when you see it in rock videos and things, it's kind of trying to make somebody seem cool or kind of hiding something.
Yes, remote.
Where this, I think, subtly, if you really think about it, by you having the glasses on and stuff, it's almost like you're actually hiding from the truth and your true self, kind of. So I think it kind of worked in that sense.
Plus, they were just cool shades, right?
Yes. And then, of course, when you throw smoke and LED lights and
right. And I feel like we got great results, especially given that it was such a small crew, and you were really inventive with how you used what resources that we had.
Yeah, that's the goal, right?
Right. Yes. In fact, I sometimes think the less money you have and the more inventive you have to be, the cooler things can get,
Well, if you know what you're doing.
if you know what you're doing. Okay, that's
there's a lot of low budget and small crew stuff that's horrible too. But
totally crappy.
But you're true. You're right in the sense that sometimes having too many resources and too many options at your disposal prevents you from making a coordinated, unified decision on what to do. It can be kind of almost overwhelming for some directors and producers, is having too many things at your disposal makes you think, well, should I put the camera there? What should we do with all these lights? So I think you just need to go back to kind of what we were talking about earlier, is that what the essence of in the vision of the song was, and hopefully, the director and the musician and the artist have something that's on the same page. And when I had started talking to you about kind of what my vision for it was really nice that it was coinciding with what you thought about it as well. That's
definitely,
because if there's two people saying different things or have a totally different vision or approach to it, the piece of artwork becomes a little bit more muddy. So I had pitched, this kind of night out on the town, not right on the nose, because the song is very poetic in the sense that it talks about specific things and it has a story-driven aspect to it, which is really awesome. And I love that about songs where they have that, and they're actually telling a story. It's not just a chorus repeated over and over again, or pop beats that's just catchy.
Right, but it evolves. The song actually evolves. The story evolves through the song. Yeah,
it evolves. And we didn't want to, we had talked about it, and we didn't want everything of what you're talking about to be visualized. We wanted it to be kind of almost disconnected from the song, since it is that fantasy, right? We fantasize about things all the time, but we don't experience them or necessarily see them in reality. So
you don't want to ruin the poetry by trying to illustrate it exactly, because that would be really hammering it too hard.
Yeah, it's a little cheesy. It could be cliche. Yeah. I pitched to you you kind of suspended in darkness in a lot of the things, driving around the city, using some of the Los Angeles landscape to intercut with that in the song, and you liked it, but you had a lot of faith in me, which was awesome. That's where I'm telling you all these things, but you're like, yeah, that sounds good. But you don't know. Of course, you have to kind of step out on a limb sometimes and trust somebody. And luckily, I think it turned out really great. And a long post-production process to get it right and to.
Although I feel like you didn't overdo it with post, which is also interesting, because we were able to accomplish so much because of how you set up the studio and how you set up the lighting. Yeah. We were able to accomplish so much of the shots. It's one thing to perfect it in post, but you didn't completely transform it in post. It really happened as we were shooting it. And so that connection between you and the music, me and the music, you and me, all those connections have to be happening. And with this song in particular, which is almost has a slow motion feel, and I think we did use some slow motion to get that flow, those connections all have to be intact. Because even though in a way, the lyric has disjointed images in it. They work as poetry, but they are kind of
Interconnected.
surreal. Yeah, they're interconnected, but they're kind of it's kind of surreal. So, and we captured that surreal feeling, I think you did with the video. But then the connection still has to be there. Those connections I was talking about for the flow to happen.
Yeah.
And I feel like all of that really happened as we were shooting, or we wouldn't have gotten the shots that we got.
Yeah, I mean, I come from a post-production background too, and a lot of people always say, and, you know, editors and visual effects artists always hate to hear this, but people always say, oh, just fix it in post or do it in post. And the thing is you can do a lot of in post-production, but if you're able to get things as close as you can and as close as you want them to be optically, and
Yes.
You get much better results.
Of course, and it's the same with music. Fix it in the mix, but really, you can't get in post. You can't capture that same magic.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, especially with music videos, we can't like. I mean, you can edit a little bit faster to try to pick up intensity with performances and stuff, but you have to get the performances, you have to get the camera movements that you want.
Yeah, right.
Not just add it. And then the beauty about that too is, and when you're doing this kind of, I mean, we obviously always had a vision, and I had a rough idea of how we would jump between point A and point B in the edits, obviously in advance when we were on the day of the shoot, but also when you're filming, there's a plan and a strategy for the different setups, the different things that we put in the background and set decoration and wardrobe. And you have that strategy, and you know, I'm going to film this, I'm going to film this, I'm going to film this. This is roughly how it's going to go together in post. But when you have that strategy in place, it also, you know, if you're confident with what you're getting, it's okay to kind of take a step back and allow for those happy accidents to happen on set.
Yes.
And to try things outside the box as far as, you know, camera movement, direction, performance with you. And when you do that, a lot of times you get these organic things that just happen that you didn't really initially think of.
That you can't.
It just adds a layer on top of it in the video, like another layer in an onion. So luckily we were able to, even though it was a jam-packed shoot day and we did a lot of things for what it was with a small crew, I was able to get what I wanted really early on with a lot of stuff, and then we were able to experiment cool things outside the box that I didn't initially really think about, like with you sitting on the top of the car with the guitar.
Which wound up being, I feel like, one of the best shots, you know. And
initially I thought we were going to use like the kind of marquee lighting a lot more than we did. And it looked cool, but it didn't turn out exactly because the space we were a little bit confined with. And so a lot of the other things that we pivoted towards ended up working a lot better, I think. Things that you might think, oh, that's just going to be silly, or I don't know if that's going to work. But sometimes those things turn into happy little accidents that propel the song forward and work out fantastic in the edit. When you're producing something or directing something, your goal is to always get through what your initial vision is. So if you're able to get through that early on, it's much funner experience to deal with. Because you got all the things that you knew was necessary up front, and then you can pivot on to more of the spontaneous stuff that sometimes has more of an organic vibe to it.
And it was a fun day too. I mean, we were in as well as what we shot in the studio, we got to run around a little bit, which I always really like doing. I just enjoy that, jumping from location to location and exploring that. Whether or not it's going to work, you don't know for sure until you get there. I just think that's fun. It adds a different energy to the shoot.
And usually I probably would have thrown a lot more into that, but it only worked on such a level, I think, with this song that we had done to have a lot of, because I think that one of the things usually is it would be nice to guerrilla and shoot things on location and get more people and things in the background. But since this was kind of a dreamlike kind of fantasy vibe, anybody that would be showing up in the background that we just got on the streets would kind of take away from it and almost give it too much of a sense of realism and take away from
it would normalize it kind of.
But the railroad tracks were cool. We shot on some railroad tracks. We shot in the streets. We shot in front of a club.
Right.
We shot on that cool bridge.
On that bridge, just a brief, but these are just brief moments, you know. Well, it's really interesting to talk to you about this after the fact. You know, we didn't really get a chance to do any kind of dissection. We just were working on it so hard. So I really appreciate getting a chance to go over all this with you.
It was an enjoyable experience, and I hope a lot of people enjoy the video as much as we enjoyed making it.
That's right. Check it out. So ladies and gentlemen, Phillip Lindsey, give us a little info about yourself.
I'm a director, writer, producer, editor, wear lots of different hats. My production company is One Way Pictures, and
that's where people can find you, right? One Way Pictures?
onewaypictures.com.
All right. Thanks so much, Carrington MacDuffie and Phillip Lindsey. Signing off. Check out the video on YouTube or on my website, carringtonmacduffie.com, for the new song, The Kiss I Didn't Get Last Night.